in one of the game's storybook settings. Fox Baseball Night in America sends you to Wrigley Field.
From Tinkers to Evers to Chance to the Babe, they are two of baseball's oldest and most storied franchises. Through the years, the Cubs and Red Sox have given us some of the game's all-time greats and scores of Hall of Famers. Tonight, the two classic franchises face off in a rare meeting at a great ballpark. Inside that great ballpark, it is hot. It is definitely the summer in Chicago, and whether it's the Cubs or the Red Sox, Cubs fans, Red Sox fans are packed in and can't wait for tonight. And we're glad you're with us tonight as the Boston Red Sox and Chicago Cubs come together at Wrigley Field. And now welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Joe Buck. Tim McCarver, Ken Rosenthal are both coming up. Well, it's certainly been a frustrating season for each side. For the Cubs, they won game one of this three-game set here yesterday, a final of 3-0, and now today and tonight, Tim, they get a chance to turn to their horse, and that's their right-handed starter, Jeff Samardzija, one of the real bright spots for the Cubs this season.
Yeah, the Cubs, of course, in a seller's market trying to rebuild, and the one guy they're not getting rid of is Jeff Samardzija. His first time in the rotation this year, and he's done very well, extending his pitches exceptionally well.
And on the Red Sox side, it's kind of been an odd year. Now, they are in last place in the AL East. There's no getting around that. Some of the statistics are pretty good, even offensively, but they just don't know what they're going to get night to night.
Bobby Valentine telling us about 2 hours ago that it's been feast or famine for the Red Sox thus far. All you have to do is look back on the last two games. They scored 10 runs to win on Wednesday night in Miami. They were shut out yesterday.
So will it be feast or famine here tonight? We're glad you're with us. Should be a lot of fun, although it hasn't been so far for these two clubs. Get ready for baseball on Baseball Night in America. Comes your way next on Fox. In Chicago on the north side, it is 83, but it is humid. Gills would help to breathe on a night like this, and Jeff Samardzija with that long hair flowing, ready to go out and pitch on this warm evening here at Wrigley. And with the wind blowing out, the opening pitch will be brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. And we'll give you a look at the Red Sox starting lineup. It's brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you've got to live Moss. Podsednik has been a godsend to this Boston team. He leads it off in left. Then Dustin Pedroia bats second. At second, David Ortiz, no DH. He's at first. Saltalamacchia does the catching. Then it's Will Middlebrooks, the rookie third baseman, followed by Adrian Gonzalez, Ryan Sweeney in center. Mike Aviles has had a nice year at short. John Lester doing the pitching and batting in the number 9 spot. And as you talked about, Tim, in the opening, this is a guy the Cubs know they can hang their hat on, not just now, but as they try to rebuild for the next few years.
Prior to this year, Jeff Samardzija had thrown 128 games and only 5 starts, but firmly in the rotation this year. Finally, a chance to start. With more starts, he has better pitch selection, looking to go deeper in the game, obviously, than he did as a long reliever. He's improved his slider and his splitter thanks to pitching coach Chris Bosio.
Chris Bosio is the pitching coach for first-year manager Dale Swain. 48-year-old, signed a 3-year deal. There's Bosio getting a chance to do it, and he is running this pitching staff for the Cubs, that, by the way, checks in at the 14th best ERA as a group at 4.33. How about defensively for Chicago? Soriano in left, Mather in center, and Reed Johnson in right. Around the infield, it's Valbuena at third. Starlin Castro, Darwin Barney, Jeff Baker, Wellington Castillo. He's a young catcher the Cubs like a lot, and here is a 36-year-old outfielder who has won it all with the White Sox back in 05, Scott Podsednik, ready to start the night, and he watches a ball sail up and away.
Tough right field here in the gloaming in Chicago.
Here is a 1-0 pitch from Samardzija. Fouled back by Podsednik, who was last year in the minor leagues all year. This guy has really battled to try and get back to this level. He had a good spring training with Philadelphia. They sent him out at the end of the spring. He had a rough start at AAA. But he's done nothing but hit since getting his chance with Boston. That misses up and away, and it's 2-1.
Yeah, the Phillies had to decide on whether to give a contract to Juan Pierre or Scott Podsednik. And they gave it to Pierre, and Scott, here he is with the Red Sox.
That's on the inside corner, 2 balls, 2 strikes. For Podsednik, he was just purchased out of the Philadelphia organization, spent about 10 days at AAA Pawtucket. Since he's come up, he's got the top batting average in the American League. He fights it off, and it's still 2-2. Boston checks in at 31 and 33. They're now 8 out behind the Yankees, who have won 8 straight. Bobby Valentine's team is in last place, and this is the latest the Red Sox have been in the cellar since the '97 season when Jimmy Williams was their manager. That's a pop-up, and that is out number 1. Tim will dazzle you now with the Ford Go Further keys to the game.
Dazzle you, huh? Offense must be consistent. We talked about that in the open. Bobby Valentine saying it's the 7-6 games or the 6-4 games we're having a tough time winning. If there are a lot of runs scored, we usually win. And Rome wasn't built in a day. Obviously, people know that, and the Cubs hope that their ball club can be built within a 5-year period, realistically.
And Caesar had a very good farm director. Put a nice organization together. Next thing you know, they're toppling other world powers, and well, you know the rest. First pitch is a strike to Pedroia. Now the next from Samardzija. Breaking ball stays high. Dustin's been playing with a tear ligament in his right thumb, and he just hasn't hit since then. He says he feels fine. Something would have to be hanging off him for him to step out of the lineup for an extended period of time. Rolls over that one, foul, left side, strike 2.
See, that's the type of pitch that Samardzija couldn't feature as a long reliever. That slider away off the plate. You come in as a reliever and you're throwing one and a third innings or so, you have to go with your fastball more. But now he's had a chance to work on other pitches.
Here's a 1-2 from Samardzija. It's down and away. Samardzija, for those who are certainly from around this area, and Jeff is, he's from the Valparaiso, Indiana area. He played football at Notre Dame, was a very good, obviously big-bodied receiver. He's 6'5", 225, and he decided to pick baseball instead of football. He got a nice deal, 5-year major league deal to keep him out of the world of football. The guy had over 2,500 receiving yards and 27 touchdowns as a Notre Dame wide receiver, but now he has moved right to the front of the list, right behind Ryan Dempster, who's going to be traded, it seems, any day now for the Cubs. That's right side, and that's foul. In case you forgot what it looked like, Jeff Samardzija wore number 83, and that big body went up to get it. All 6'5", 225. He had a future in the NFL if he decided to go that way. But he's a football player who is learning to play baseball and seemingly getting better by the start. Counts full on Pedroia with 1 out, nobody on. Here in the first at Wrigley, and another foul by Pedroia, who's always running at about 100 miles an hour.
And with 2 strikes, there's nobody that adapts to that 2-strike pitch like Pedroia. He's more inclined to go to right field, as he did yesterday with the bases loaded and 2 strikes. Unfortunately, it was right at the right fielder.
3-2 to the shortstop. Castro laid back, comes in, gets it 2 out. And that 22-year-old star, Starlin Castro, made the routine for out number 2, and with the bases empty, it will be David Ortiz. Talked to Bobby Valentine, and he made sure we knew what he was saying when he said, you were joking around with him. You said, well, Manny Ramirez is out there if you guys want to go get another hitter. He said, nope, we have a DH, and we have the best in the business, and that's what Ortiz, who hit over 400 in April, and has got 9 straight seasons of 20 or more home runs. He is aiming for number 10 since coming to the Red Sox. He looks at a ball up and away.
And 2 or 3 years ago, there were Red Sox fans waiting to give up on David Ortiz, and there is nothing better than an older player proving people wrong, and that's what David Ortiz has done.
Proved a couple of announcers wrong too along the way.
Oh yeah.
And he finds some teammates in the dugout. And look at the names on this list for the Red Sox all time, most consecutive 20 or more home run seasons, and that's for Ted Williams. He missed 2 years because of World War II. That's 43 and 45. But he had 10 straight. Ortiz is just 5 away from number 10. That is just outside. Pretty good pitch. And Samardzija falls behind on the count, 2-1.
That's the first splitter of the game thrown by Samardzija, just off the outside.
He did not have that splitter his last time out when he got lit up by the Twins. 8 runs in less than 4 innings. That one down at the shins of Ortiz, and they count 3-1. There's John Lester. He is wondering if it'll be a longer wait until he takes the ball in the bottom of this inning. He is coming off 3 straight no decisions. Lester. There's that start last time out for Samardzija, who's been so good here at Wrigley. 3-1, an ERA under 2, and he walks David Ortiz with 2 out. So a 2-out walk. Dale Swaim, who lit up his team during a 12-game losing streak that stopped just over 2 weeks ago. Cubs also had an 11-game road losing streak come to an end recently. But they are on a pace where they would lose more games than any other team in Cubs history, which is not what Dale Swaim or Theo Epstein or Jed Hoyer, the GM, had in mind in what was going to be a down year. But there's down, and then there's this. Ball 1 to Saltalamacchia.
Chicago Cubs lost 103 games back in 1962. That's when they were being led by the College of Coaches. Charlie Metro, Elvin Tappy.
One ball, no strikes, and now 2-0.
It was almost a rotating coaching group. Lou Klein was the other coach turned manager, but they had 3 coaches running the clubs and no manager. But now they have a good manager in first year Dale Swain.
There's a chance there for a while he was going to be managing the team he is managing against. As Saltalamacchia rides one out to right center field, and Ortiz all the way from first base will come around to throw home. They got a shot. Inning over. And Ortiz, who was looking over his shoulder as that ball hit up against the wall, is thrown out on a ball that even with his speed, he should have made it 1-0. But he was looking over his shoulder, and he is out at the plate to end the top of the first. A loud final out. Samardzija loves it. Up for the Chicago Cubs. Sometimes you got to live Moss. Reed Johnson leads it off. Darwin Barney bats second. Starlin Castro hits third. In the middle, it's Alfonso Soriano, then Jeff Baker, Joe Mather. He's in center. Followed by Wellington Castillo, Luis Valbuena, and Jeff Samardzija pitching and batting in the number 9 spot. And here is Lester, who checks in with an ERA of 4.5, a record of 3-4. And he is coming off a no decision on Monday at Miami. He went 7, struck out 9, and there are the overall numbers. His first start at Wrigley Field, and in a moment we'll show you that trip that David Ortiz took from first base to the plate, and it won't make Red Sox fans very happy. That pitch is a strike in the count 1-1.
Now, you don't have to be a fast base runner to be a good base runner, and David Ortiz was not a good base runner in that aborted trip around the bases. Thrown out at home when he should have scored.
And scored easily.
Yeah, yep.
The 1-1. Fly ball right field. That's going to get down for a base hit. Reed Johnson is on. And let's take a look back at how the top of the inning came to a close.
Well, what gave Jerry Royster the idea that he might send him is the ball didn't carry him back to Reed Johnson. It hugged the wall. Ortiz, on the other hand, was looking at the outfielder. Now, keep in mind, there were 2 out. Now, watch him look at the outfielder, Johnson, looking at the ball, not running hard, And now he's picking up his third base coach, and it's too late. Not good base running by a guy who, even though he's not fast, should be a better base runner.
Castillo applied the tag, able to hang on, and Ortiz with 2 out could not score on that ball to right center field. It hit close to the 368 mark in the ivy here at Wrigley. That pitch is inside. And after the base hit by Reed Johnson, who is a .311 career hitter against left-handed pitching, so he adds just a little bit to that career number against lefties. Waits for this at bat by Darwin Barney, who's a pretty good, solid big league player here at second base for the Cubs, hitting .275. With 1 on, nobody out, that's to third. Middlebrooks couldn't get it out of his glove, and then wisely goes to first, 1 out. Had a chance for 2, maybe, but once Middlebrooks bobbled it, no chance. Podsednik in left, Sweeney in center, Adrian Gonzalez is in right. Middlebrooks, Aviles, Pedroia, Ortiz on the infield, and Saltalamacchia does the catching, and out to Waveland Avenue we go.
Joe, what happened to Middlebrooks, he backhanded the ball, and a lot of times when infielders backhand the ball, they don't get a good grip the first time in. A re-grip, and he goes to first.
RBI opportunity for Starlin Castro, who was in the middle of that relay. It went 9-6-2 from Reed Johnson to Castro, and his throw was good enough to Castillo to get the out. Ortiz to end the top of the inning. That's down for ball 1. Castro with 50 strikeouts, 6 walks. That's mixed into those pretty good numbers by a 22-year-old shortstop. Guy who's been an all-star and is one of the game's better young players. Lester trying to get around that leadoff hit. Caught to end the inning. Diving catch by Pedroia into the bag for a double play. And Castro could not have hit it any harder.
And Johnson couldn't do anything at second base.
Diving catch by Pedroia, and then a walk to the bag for the double play. No score after 1 at Wrigley. By Budweiser is sponsored by Taco Bell. Sometimes you've got to live Moss. Tough to find a more fun city to spend a weekend, and the weather's been fantastic. A little hotter today, but Nonetheless, we hope we dodge the thunderstorms that are in the area and get through this game unscathed. And they're packed into Wrigley as they have been all week. The Tigers were here, had a lot of Tiger fans. That upset some of the Cubs players coming down from Michigan. But then you've got a lot of Red Sox fans, and they travel well as Middlebrooks, the rookie, has a 1-1 count.
Some of the Cub players saying that when Justin Verlander was on the mound on Thursday, they thought it was a Detroit home game.
He ended up winning that game. That's hard hit. Nice play by Valbuena. And a good throw for out number 1. Middlebrooks hit it hard, but his counterpart, Luis Valbuena, made that stop to his left.
I'll tell you, Valbuena has opened some eyes here in only his 3rd start. He ended the game yesterday on a very difficult play with the bases loaded. A ball hit by Dustin Pedroia. Took a bad hop. Valbuena won the relay to the bag for the last out of the game. He's a good-looking player defensively.
So now with 1 out, here's Adrian Gonzalez, and a foul out of play back to the left. This is a Cubs team that put Ian Stewart on the disabled list. He had been the 3rd baseman, a guy the franchise got from the Rockies, for Tyler Colvin and DJ LeMahieu. But he wasn't hitting anything. 201, 5 homers, 17 RBIs, and he's on the DL with a bad left wrist. And that's a Reds game break coming up as the count goes to 0-2 on Adrian Gonzalez, whose numbers compared to his first year with the Red Sox last year through 64 games, big difference to 2012. Last year at this point was hitting .338. He'd had that shoulder worked on. At this point he had 12 homers, 58 RBI. And then you see what he's doing now on the right. .263, .535, and they've asked a lot of him defensively. Try to get his bat and Ortiz's bat in the lineup in interleague play to go play right. Struggled on a ball hit by Dempster yesterday. May have played the ball into a triple, but for the most part he has been willing to do it and done a decent job out there.
Yeah, if he can get to it, he'll catch it. Not fast a foot.
Here's a 2-2. Just wasted the pitch. Still 2-2. After Gonzalez, it's Ryan Sweeney for the Red Sox, taking on the Cubs. And you start to look at this Cubs franchise and the players that are out there on the field. That's one guy in your picture that will be around. Dale Swain, year 1 of a 3-year deal, but they've got a lot of work to do to make this team competitive again. As this ball's hit to center, back at the track, this one is caught for a loud out number 2 as Joe Mather puts it away. Let's go to Matt Vasgersian for a DirecTV game break.
Joe and Tim, as promised, Mets and Reds, and Jay Bruce is hot. 5th straight game with an RBI. He's homered in 2 straight now. Reds trying to win their 5th consecutive on top early in Flushing. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Back to Joe and Tim.
All right, so an inside the park home run last night for Jay Bruce, and a ball where Jason Bay banged into the wall. The strike 1 is into Sweeney from Samardzija with 2 out, nobody on, and the Reds trying to win their 5th straight, as Matt said. Stay 4 up on both Pittsburgh and St. Louis. Those 2 teams won today. Count 1-1.
Jason Bay out with another concussion, we understand.
He had one in 2010. He'd been back for just 7 games. And he has just been frustrated, as have the Mets and their fans, since he signed that deal a couple of years ago. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Totally fooled is Sweeney, strike 2.
Yeah, that's when that swing right there was when you're looking for the inside fastball and you get the curve blowing away.
That's where our director Bill Webb wishes he was sitting for tonight's game, across the street on a rooftop. A 98-mile-per-hour fastball misses inside 2-2.
There was a day when those rooftops weren't here. 25 years ago or so, they came into being, almost synonymous with the lights, maybe a little bit before the lights were installed in 1988. The rooftops became very, very popular.
That is a fun experience, which I've had the chance to do here at Wrigley Field.
I have too.
Another chapter of my life.
It was the same chapter of mine.
It's been a long chapter. It's like the Winds of War type chapter. The count's still 2-2. Samardzija Saw a deep fly ball to center off the bat of Gonzalez for out number 2 after getting Middlebrooks. And on this steamy night, with 2 out, nobody on, here's a 2-2. Good pitch and strikeout number 1. We are at Wrigley in this great city of Chicago. Some of the scenes from around the ballpark at the start of our night, where it's no score after 1.5. Chicago, and this game is presented by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. We get into the bottom of the second inning. It will be for Chicago, Soriano, Baker, and Mather against the lefty John Lester, who should get a lot of swings and misses here tonight with his deceptive delivery. It's tough for these guys to pick up the baseball, and he's got obviously that great velocity, Lester, and a guy who's got the best winning percentage among active pitchers. Soriano's been hot in the count. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's the hitter's backdrop into center field where Ryan Sweeney is, and then back into that area that's rather new here at Wrigley Field in center. Hitters trying to pick up the baseball, dealing with shadows and sunlight, and the count 2-1.
We were talking about that word gloaming earlier in the game. It's famous in Cub history. In 1938, on September 28, Gabby Hartnett hit a home run to extend the season, and the Chicago Cubs lost to the World Series champions that year, the New York Yankees. But it's known as the Homer and the Gloamin'. Of course, in 1938, they didn't have lights in Wrigley Field. Lights were not to appear until 50 years later.
Counts 2-2 on Soriano. To the shortstop, Aviles gets a weird hop at the end, but to his right makes the play. 1 out. Soriano, who had not homered over the first 30 games, went to a lighter bat and has hit 12 home runs since the 15th of May, and now has miraculously put himself on the list of potential all-stars for the Cubs. He's out number 1.
I think more older hitters should go to lighter bats. Sometimes it's their ego that gets in the way. They don't want to drop down, admitting that they're not as strong as they once were.
Batter is Baker. Good fastball hitter. 4 for 4 in his career against Lester. Takes a strike. Ken Rosenthal is with us from FoxSports.com. And Ken, that's a ground ball off Lester's glove. Middlebrooks can't make the play, and it's an infield hit for Jeff Baker. And I know you talked to Soriano and to Dale Swaim about that shift to a lighter bat for Alfonso.
Well, Soriano, of course, swung one of the heaviest bats in the majors, but he was thinking about going lighter when Dale Swaim suggested it one day, and Soriano said at that point it gave me the confidence to do it. What the lighter bat gives him is more time to react. He doesn't have to be as quick with his mechanics. He can just be quick with his hands.
Who's the bow tie honoring tonight?
Easter Seals, Joe.
Easter Seals. And if we could ever, sure we will, get a tighter shot, Bill Webb is qualified to do that. It's got numbers and different colors. And in case Kenny gets lost to score later tonight with the wind blowing out. He's got help if he just looks down. Here's Mather, and he takes a strike. There it is, a nice look. Half the mug of Kenny Rosenthal, and now an even better shot. And in high definition, Kenny, you should have shaved against the grain this morning because you were a little lackadaisical around the neck area. 0-1 the count from Lester, and Mather grounds it foul, strike 2. It's always a tricky proposition, shaving around the neck. Never felt comfortable with that. 1 on, 1 out after a ground out by Soriano. Baker with an infield base hit that was deflected by Lester. Either it went through for a hit or it was knocked down for a hit. And now the count 0-2 on Joe Mather. Struck him out on a high hard one, and that is out number 2. First strikeout for Lester.
Excuse me, Joe. That was a cut fastball up and in, and the first noticeable cutter. But it goes, the cutter from the left-hander goes in on the right-handed batter, and he gets Mather. Good pitch there.
Now Wellington Castillo, a guy who was at AA, AAA, and now the big league. Tim Dale Swaim, the manager of the Cubs, thought that eventually this guy would be a starting catcher in the big leagues. He's got that capability, especially defensively, the way he can get rid of a baseball. 2 out, ball 1.
A very strong arm behind the plate, and something that a lot of people don't understand. He has very quick feet behind the plate. Allows him to get in position to throw. And Dale thinks he's going to be a good big league hitter once he gets more experience.
He certainly hit in the minor leagues. Just got back from a rehab assignment. He lines to Aviles to end the inning. Line out. We've had some loud outs in this one.
Yeah.
A 1-out hit by Baker, and the Cubs strand their first. No score. Back after this from your local Fox station. Let's take you around this great city on a Saturday night. Fox Baseball Night in America is presented by Budweiser. As we go into the third, Red Sox have Aviles to lead it off, then John Lester the pitcher, then Podsednik, and a strike hits the outside corner from Samardzija. Samardzija ready with another, and that's too far outside. A ball and a strike. Jeff was a 5th-round pick back in 06. Got that 5-year major league deal that I talked about. He came up in 2008, but this is his first real crack at being a starter in this rotation. Had only 5 starts coming into this year. 1 out here in the 3rd inning. Let's go to Matt for a DirecTV game break.
Joe, to the Sunshine State, dating back to last season, Tampa Bay had beaten the Marlins in 8 straight. James Shields beat them just 5 days ago, but this 2-run single by Jose Reyes gives Miami an early lead. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Joe and Tim, back to you guys.
Marlins have hit the skids. They're at 500 at the start of the day, and have lost 9 of 10 and 3 in a row. Red Sox just beat Miami 2 out of 3. Before they came here. Cubs won here yesterday 3-zip. The 0-1 is on the outside part.
Only 11 days ago, the Miami Marlins were in first place in the National League East. The bottom has fallen out.
Now it's the Nationals. The Nationals have dropped 2 in a row to the Yankees. 0-2 on Lester, and now a clunker back to Samardzija, who will flip because he has to flee out. Could have walked it over. 2 down. Want to get into kind of the state of the union for the Chicago Cubs. It's an interesting time right now for this franchise as you look at the NL East and what was a real bunched up division. There's been a little separation. Atlanta 6 games over, 3.5 games out. Washington lost in 14 innings earlier today at home to the Yankees. Andy Pettitte with another start where he went 7 innings. Podsednik takes a strike. So you've got Theo Epstein, who was the general manager and the guy who was running the show with the Red Sox from 2003 to 2011. There's Theo on the cell phone. I'm sure that thing will be busy. Cell phone over the next couple of weeks, with Ryan Dempster the obvious one to go somewhere else if he waives his no trade situation. But there are others that can be had on this Cubs team. Like come and get it right now, as that one is high. And while it was made obvious pretty much, Tim, in the offseason when they didn't really go after Pujols, they didn't go after Prince Fielder, they let a lot of money leave this organization and contracts, and guys like Pena and Zambrano and Aramis Ramirez, Fukudome. Here's a little running slap at the baseball by Podsednik. The count's still 1-2. Now they're going to be picked even more clean by other GMs, and they've got a long rebuilding process now to undergo here with the Cubs.
We talked about a 5-year program. We just threw that number out. That was not Theo Epstein's. But the one other guy I think they don't get rid of is Starlin Castro, the shortstop. We talked about Samardzija, who will lead the Cubs' hope for a number of years, lead that pitching staff. And I think Starlin Castro will lead the regular players. But anybody else? Up for grabs.
I think it's a lot to ask of the fans around here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like how many times do you have to go through this where an organization is just stripped down? And yeah, they've got good young players. They've got this kid Anthony Rizzo that they love at the AAA level and is leading in home runs. He's got 22 already. Actually 24. He had 26 last year. And they've got some other young guys like Brett Jackson, Jorge Soler, the Cuban-born player they just got. Here's a base hit up the middle. But with the exception of Rizzo, who they may see at some point this year, and got up with the Padres last year for a brief while, hit a home run, but really struggled. They're being very careful with Anthony Rizzo. I mean, you're talking about 2-3 years before this team, on this pace and with this approach, is going to be competing in the division.
I think it's longer than that, Joe. I really do. I think it's longer than a 2 or 3 year period. We threw that word out 5 years. I think it could be more than 5 years. But, you know, I think the Cub fans, this is just my opinion, they've been some of the most forgiving fans in the world. I think it seems like fun comes first for Cub fans. The ballpark, the environment, that certainly helps things. But it is a lot to ask of the fans. See?
She's already out. 1 on, 2 out, no score, third inning. Pedroia at the plate after a base hit by Podsednik up the middle.
He's going to be running. It's a matter of when.
Looks like he's about ready to take off right now.
Well, that's a good deterrent, and Jeff Samardzija was doing that from a pitcher. Instead of throwing to first, you just hold the ball and upset the runner's timing.
One on, 2 out, and a ball down and away, corralled by Castillo, the catcher. Pedroia has been frustrated. We showed you those numbers, 188 coming into this game since the middle of May. Took a few days off with that tear in his right thumb, and now he's tried to just play his way right through it. Here comes a 1-0. Kind of a weird situation even in the dugout on the Boston side before the game, with Pedroia sitting there with Nick Punto. And there's Terry Francona, who's in town to do the game tomorrow night for ESPN.
And it's clear that Terry Francona's favorite player was Dustin Pedroia. Yeah. By far, they're very, very close friends.
Now Bobby Valentine's pulling the strings for the Red Sox, and Francona wears a headset and tie. Against his wishes, by the way, the tie part. But they make him. Meanwhile, Valentine, who's 62, is in his 16th Major League Baseball season as a manager. And there was Tito, as everybody knows him, Terry Francona down there talking to Pedroia and Punto and having fun down in the Red Sox dugout. A check on the runner, Podsednik at first.
I'll tell you, the Red Sox over the last decade, everybody knows it. They're world champions in 2004, 2007. They climbed Everest those 2 years. And last year, they fell into a crevasse.
Here's a high fly ball foul off the bat of Pedroia, 2-2. Well, they're September, and that collapse about as bad as it can get. And as Theo Epstein put it, and this is paraphrasing, that September won't leave him.
No.
It's going to be hard for him to ever get over that. For a team that played as good as anybody, maybe better than any other team in the big leagues for 4.5 months during the season, and then that collapse in September. Runner goes on a line drive foul down the right field line, still 2-2.
In 1964, the Phillies collapsed in the National League. Of course, there was no divisional play that year, but they had a 10-game losing streak with 12 games left, and Gene Mock called his team the best team in baseball for 150 games. But you got to play 162. And last year, you could make that statement about the Red Sox. For 5 months of the year, they were the best team in baseball, and then collapsed, and I mean collapsed, in September.
2-2 pitch is fouled back and out of play. Through yesterday, you look at last year and where they were, and this is when they started to really get into a groove. The Boston Red Sox, they had that slow start last year as well during the month of April, but then they took off. Now they're 7.5 games out at the start of the day, 8 out to be exact, with the Yankees win actually earlier this afternoon. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 1 hopper to Darwin Barney. Backs up, makes the play. The inning is over. A hit, second of the day for the Red Sox. They strand their first. Bottom of the 3rd inning. Cubs coming to bat, no score. Bottom of the third inning rolls in, and for the Cubs, it'll be Valbuena, the number 8 hitter. That's only the 20th pitch of the night for Lester. Then Samardzija, then Reed Johnson. No score. Cubs have 2 hits. Lost a guy on the bases, Reed Johnson, in the first inning on a line drive double play, hit into by Castro. That's upstairs, a ball and a strike from John Lester. Lester, who was a second-round pick in 02, came up in 06. Same year he was diagnosed with large cell lymphoma. But he came back, and his comeback story was inspirational when in 2007 he worked his way all the way back and was the winning pitcher in the clincher, the World Series that year in Denver, Colorado.
When the Red Sox swept the Rockies 4 in a row.
A few bounces to Aviles, and the shortstop makes the play with Ortiz on the receiving end, 1 out. Valbuena 0 for 7 to start the season.
Boy, that's a good play by Aviles, coming in on the short hop and throwing almost in the same motion to just get Valbuena.
And keep the bases clear as you look at the replay at first base. Nice play by the Boston shortstop, 1 out. Bases are clear in front of Samardzija, who takes a ball outside. Not to say that this at bat won't be exciting, but we can bring in Ken Rosenthal to talk about the Cubs situation and some of those young kids they have on the way that are in the pipeline. But it'll be a while before they're established big leaguers here in Chicago, Ken.
Right, Joe, but they don't expect it to take 5 years. They think they can compete by 2015. And yes, it's going to be more of a challenge for them, but in the NL Central, it's a little forgiving.
Here's a ground ball to Pedroia, 2 out. Go ahead.
What they can do, Joe, right now is make some trades, bring in some prospects that way, and they're willing to pick up big money on Soriano, on Dempster, on Garza. They'll pick up as much money as necessary in order to get better players in return. Now also, one challenge for them here is the new restrictions on amateur spending, both domestically and internationally. That's why they just gave $30 million to the Cuban defector Jorge Soler. He was not covered by that, so they brought him in. Yes, it's going to take time. They're especially short on pitching, but they believe they can make it work.
2 out, nobody on. The batter's Reed Johnson, who takes a strike. There's Matt Garza, who is a guy who's proven he can win in the AL East if some team like the Yankees or another club wants to go get him. It's one thing to be successful in the big leagues. It's another to be successful in that division, as he was with the Tampa Bay Rays. And Garza is appealing because he is under club control for 1 more year after this year if the team wants to make it right for the Cubs. Counts 0-2 on Reed Johnson. By the way, Garza 7-4 in his career in the regular season against the Red Sox. 2-0 in the postseason against Boston. A strikeout for Lester, his 2nd of the night. He appears dialed in on a warm Saturday evening at Wrigley Field. We go to the 4th. Red Sox and Cubs, no score. game is sponsored by the makers of Bayer Advanced Aspirin, the official pain reliever of MLB. And by Jaguar. See the new model year lineup at your local Jaguar retailer. Buckingham Fountain here in Chicago.
Looks refreshing.
Yeah, it does. Sorry for the theme of tonight. One of the few lessons my dad gave me when I got into broadcasting was nobody cares if the announcers are cold or hot. So just shut up. I think I've mentioned that it's muggy and hot and humid 6 times already. We're only in the 4th, and David Ortiz, who was thrown out at the plate to end the top of the 1st inning after drawing a 2-out walk, and then was thrown out on a relay 9-6-2, took a ball. Here is a 1-0 from Samardzija. Ripped into the right field corner, and that ball will get down and go to the wall. Kicks away from Reed Johnson, but anyway you slice that one, it's a double. And Ortiz has the 2nd extra base hit of the night.
That's Saltalamacchia right there. That happened in the 1st inning, but David Ortiz handling an inside fastball, ripping it down the right field line. And the one thing Ortiz is, you've got to be quicker on the fastball that is up. And that's the impressive thing about David Ortiz. As he's gotten older, he not only handles the ball down and in, but up and in too.
You just saw that double from Saltalamacchia's first time. This guy's had a great year. And he's got 11 home runs from the catching position. That ties him for the most in the big leagues at that defensive position among catchers. He's driven in 30, could have been 31 in the 1st inning, and he's hitting .250. Takes a pitch outside for ball 1, and that will bring Castillo to the mound with a runner at 2nd. David Ortiz, they're going to get straight on their signs.
Understandable, the first time a base runner has been on 2nd base today, a young catcher in Castillo, and a young pitcher for that matter.
We talked to Dave McKay, who was the longtime first base coach both in Oakland and St. Louis for Tony La Russa, about Dale Swaim, who you just saw. Here's Dave. And he thinks Dale Swaim's going to be a real good major league manager and has a lot of the same characteristics that La Russa possessed in what was a Hall of Fame career. Here's a foul backing out of play on a 96-mile-an-hour fastball.
I can't think of a nicer thing to say than someone compared with the great Tony La Russa.
McKay was with him for 26 years, 16 of which were in St. Louis.
In fact, he'll be the first base coach in the All-Star game on July 10th in Kansas City.
All those coaches that were with La Russa last year, plus others, will be coaches for the National League in Kansas City. There's strike 2 on a high delivery from Samardzija and Saltalamacchia.
That was a splitter that got away. Fortunately for Samardzija, swung through by Saltalamacchia.
They just announced that Terry Collins of the Mets and Ron Renicky of the Brewers will join. Dave Duncan, who will come back. Tony La Russa out of retirement in essence to manage the All-Star team. Mark McGwire, Dave McKay, Jose Oquendo. Here's a 1-2. High fly ball to right. Back at the track. This ball is gone. A 2-run home run for Saltalamacchia in the first runs of the night. They belong to the Red Sox, who lead 2-0. Home run number 12, and that's got Samardzija shaking his head.
You know, he got away with that first splitter up. Saltalamacchia swinging and missing to get to 2 strikes. So that's a mistake he got away with. The second splitter, Saltalamacchia said, I'll handle this one myself, and he put the Red Sox up.
So the good year continues for Saltalamacchia. And with nobody on or out, Middlebrooks takes a pitch up and away, ball 1. Will hit a hard ball left side, was fielded by Valbuena his first time up. That's high again, and the count 2-0. I want to talk to Ken Rosenthal during the inning about the Euclid situation as you see Middlebrooks playing third base. Euclid has come off the disabled list, was on with a bad back, and Kenny, he hasn't hit at all. He's got a lot of money left on his contract for the rest of this season. What's the status with him?
Right now is neutral. He is stuck in neutral, and the Red Sox are stuck in neutral, and the reason is this. He's 3 for 34 right now, so he's not hitting. He's making, as you said, $12 million this year, plus he has $1 million buyout on his option. So it's a lot of money for not a lot of production for a player who is in physical decline. So really, right now, all the Red Sox can do is wait, but the trick is they've got to play him to get his value up, and then here come all their outfielders off the DL pretty soon, so they'll no longer be able to play Adrian Gonzalez in right. It's a very tricky situation, Joe.
Still only 33 years old, however, and a chance to get well and help some other team. It seems to me that if they get rid of Euclid, it's not that he can't play, but that Middlebrooks can.
As he strikes out for out number 1 here in the 4th inning. Second strikeout for Samardzija. So the 27-year-old right-hander comes back after the home run and gets a strikeout, 1 out in the inning. Yeah, Cody Ross is on his way back this next week. Eventually, right around the break, maybe after the break, Bobby Valentine could be writing the name of Jacoby Ellsbury into that lineup. Carl Crawford into that lineup. It has not gone according to plan, and for the Red Sox, they have more lost player days on the disabled list than any other team in the big leagues here in 2012.
It's all Bobby Valentine needs, too. Yesterday, announcing to the press almost as an afterthought that, by the way, Josh Beckett will not start on Sunday night.
And he's been since placed on the disabled list with inflammation in his pitching shoulder. 1 ball, 1 strike on Adrian Gonzalez. And as Bobby Valentine told us before the game, there is always inflammation in that shoulder, but it just hasn't cleared since his last start, which was a loss on Monday to the Marlins. So they're going to put him on the DL, hope to get him back, and then plow through the rest of the way through the All-Star break, and then evaluate it in the second half as the count goes to 1-2 on Gonzalez. You can see a difference in the pitch count between the two starters tonight. Lester's been very economical. 1-2 pitch, a strikeout for out number 2.
That was a good splitter there. That ball really went down off the plate to Gonzalez. Check the route of that splitter. Good one.
Strikeout number 3 for Samardzija. And if you think about Beckett, who's had a couple of blow-up starts, but for the most part has been okay. You look at Boston in their rotation. Their left-hander, their young left-hander, Felix Doubront, has been really their most consistent starter since the beginning of the year. Clay Buchholz has been their best of late. But Doubront was inserted in the rotation along with Daniel Bard to start the season. Bard's now in the minor leagues. Doubront is picking up steam as the year goes on, as the count goes to 0-2, and now Samardzija can strike out the side.
Felix Doubront 7-4 on the year. He had the best spring of any Boston pitcher, and he's had the best season of any Boston pitcher. Clay Buchholz 3-0 in June.
With an ERA of 1.45 over his last 4 starts after an ERA of over 9 over his first 6. The count goes to 1-2 on Sweeney, who's not homered since last July. Average at 298. He grounds it to first, foul. Played by Baker, and Samardzija will keep that baseball.
Dave Magadan, the hitting coach for the Red Sox, talking to Sweeney about when to go the other way. That's when 2 strikes are on you, or when to try to pull 2-0, 3-1.
That's on the inside corner. Sweeney doesn't like it. Samardzija strikes out the side, but that comes after this. Samardzija, Saltalamacchia, a lot of letters. 1 home run, 2 runs on the board. 2-0 Boston after 3.5. This thing slips into the bottom of the fourth inning. 2-0 Red Sox and a home run by Saltalamacchia. And a ball inside to Darwin Barney, who his first time bounced out to third. It'll be Barney, then Castro, then Soriano. Jeff Baker, if anybody gets on, who's 5 for 5, by the way, in his career against Leicester. Count goes to 1-1. Chicago has 22 wins on the year, 22-42, 14.5 games out, and that foul ball makes it 1-2. Cubs fired their hitting instructor Rudy Jaramillo during the week on Tuesday. 61-year-old hitting instructor in his third season with the Cubs and on his third manager. There's Jamie Quirk, the bench coach for Dale Swaim. Guy who was 15 years the hitting coach for the Texas Rangers. As that one is pulled foul, the count 1-2, and there is a shift of philosophy, it would seem, here with the Cubs.
Yeah, with Theo Epstein bringing that on-base percentage as a very important, if not the most important statistic. But Theo expounded on that this week in the Chicago papers. Oh, good cutter on the outside corner to get Barney.
And strikeout number 3 on the night for the left-hander Lester.
There's the cutter sailing back over the outside part of the plate. Theo Epstein talking and explaining more fully the on-base percentage. He said, look, we want our guys to get in good hitting situations. And interestingly, Starlin Castro is one of those guys that does not get in good hitting situations. You mentioned his 6 walks and 50 strikeouts. That is antithetical of what the Cubs are talking about.
Here's a 2-hopper off the bat of Castro. Wide throw, and Castro is safe as Middlebrooks pulled David Ortiz off the bag. And like that should be an error.
A relatively easy play, but Middlebrooks throwing that ball flat-footed and an error on Will. But you know, I found it very interesting, Joe, that in the same week they hire for $30 million, they signed Jorge Soler and fire their hitting instructor Rudy Jaramillo, because Soler, as are a lot of Hispanic hitters, a lot of hitters from the Dominican Republic and Cuba, they're not selective hitters, they're free swingers. So in a period of 2 days, they sign a free swinger and fire a hitting coach.
And hire James Rowson, who you saw in the dugout, a guy who was in the Yankees organization for 6 years, had come to the Cubs. And now a guy who was roving around in the minor leagues is going to have a chance whenever the day comes when Anthony Rizzo gets called up, or Brett Jackson. Here's Saltalamacchia, and he got it. Out at second base is Starlin Castro, and that is just the 7th base runner caught stealing this season by Saltalamacchia, and he's doing it all tonight.
That's 7th caught stealing in 43 attempts. That's a percentage of about 15%.
How's that throw?
Right on the money. Castro an easy out at second.
And for Starlin, he has been caught now 7 times. Here's a grounder to Middlebrooks, gets a do-over. And the inning is over. So Leicester has a 2-0 lead, faces only 3 in the 4th. Saltalamacchia has done it with his bat in his arm. 2-0 Red Sox. Another look around Chicago as baseball night in America, presented by Budweiser, rolls on into the 5th inning. And here in the 5th for the Red Sox, who lead 2-0. It'll be Aviles, the shortstop, the number 8 hitter, then Lester, and then back to the top, Sednick. 2-run shot by Saltalamacchia last inning. Then Samardzija came back to strike out the side. The game break coming your way. Vasgersian is locked and loaded, ready to go as a 96-mile-an-hour fastball is fouled back. It's 1-1. It's a Baltimore-Atlanta Brave game break coming your way. Here's a 1-1. That's hooked foul. Strike 2. So it'll be Franklin Morales for the Red Sox tomorrow night against Mahalem, the left-hander. Here's a 1-2. Fouled back into the right. Still 1-2. So a pair of left-handers, and for the Red Sox, they were trying to stretch out Franklin Morales to maybe make him a spot starter. He worked in long relief behind Daisuke Matsuzaka after his first start. Coming back from Tommy John. He got the start yesterday. Got the loss. Aviles strikes out. That's 4 in a row. That's tomorrow night. Right now, it's a game break. Here's Matt Vasgersian.
Joe, as you mentioned, Orioles and Braves. Anthony Varvaro has Mark Reynolds all but put away on 0-2 with 2 out, but he hangs a breaking ball and Reynolds drives in a pair. One note, Major League ERA leader Brandon Beachy removed in the 4th with an apparent elbow injury. More info as it becomes available. Back to Joe and Tim at Wrigley.
Boy, big loss for the Braves.
Yeah, that's bad news for a team that won last night over Baltimore and is trying to gain a game on first place Washington as Lester fouls one into the seats and the count 1-1. Meanwhile, the Orioles are trying to win in Atlanta to stay a game and a half out in the AL East and 2 games back at the moment, and that's what Adam Jones has been doing. Red hot. Got a contract extension, and he is one of the game's young stars. The count goes to 1-2 on Lester. 0 for 3 on the year, swinging the bat. Sednick next. Got him on the outside corner or on the swing. We'll say swinging. His home plate umpire Alfonso Marquez was pointing at Beckett on his, or rather Lester on his way out. That's 5 strikeouts in a row for the right-hander Samardzija. With the bases empty, Podsednik will take his time getting to the plate.
Sometimes it's tough to measure how important a manager is with his first time with a franchise. But Buck Showalter is showing that he has made a difference with the Baltimore Orioles. Almost half a season and has them in second place, only 2 games out going into their game tonight.
You can see the good stuff by Samardzija. He just pounds one over the inside part. A heavy fastball he throws and will work inside much more this year than he has in the past. Good tight breaking ball there for strike 2. And he's trying to strike out 6 straight.
Yeah, again, Joe, it's the difference in working 1 1/3, 1 2/3 innings from the bullpen and starting. You can use your stuff a lot better.
Well, he's throwing hard. 98. And the count still 0-2.
Dale Schwaim said his time with Milwaukee last year, some of the hitters were saying, oh, let me at Samardzija. I can get some good hacks against him. And then he came up with that splitter and that slider, and they said, he's nastier than he's ever been.
Schwaim, who was a player for 12 years, 11 years he's been a coach, including 2 years with Boston in 04 and 05. So he was there for all that fun in 2004. Went back to the team where he played the majority of his 12-year career. Here's a ground ball right side foul. Still 1-2.
Still a bit hard to believe that the Red Sox came back and beat the Yankees 4 in a row, isn't it? After that drubbing they took in Game 3 of the ALCS.
That's what made it all the more remarkable.
We talked about it. It was the most hard-hit balls that we had seen in a 9-inning game. I know in my career.
Well,
I mean, balls.
You got me covered.
Yeah, but balls are just rocketing off the wall, over the wall. They scored, what, 19 runs? And yet the Red Sox came back and remarkably.
It was 19 to 8.
19 to 8, right. Jeez.
Meanwhile, it shows why the game is great, because if not for Dave Roberts being safe on a steal, history isn't made.
Bill Miller's single up the middle to tie it. David Ortiz to win it in extra innings.
Samardzija makes a nice play, stabbing it to his left, and he is settled in after the 2-run home run. Let's talk arms and pitching. Samardzija, Lester, and the arm of Saltalamacchia. 2-0, halfway through it. Wiser is sponsored by Chevrolet, proud to support youth baseball in cities and towns across the country. Nice night at Wrigley as we go into the bottom of the 5th inning for the Cubs. It's Baker to start it. Jeff takes a ball just off the plate. Baker singled his first time, as I mentioned, 5 for 5 in his career against Lester. Starts to become more than just a coincidence as he fouls it back. The count 1-1. Mather will be next, and then Wellington Castillo. Here's a 1-1. We're talking about this Cubs team. Their general manager, actually the president, their general manager's Jed Hoyer. Theo Epstein, who helped build up the Red Sox, said yesterday a little bit of talent deficit with this Cubs team. And you look at the bottom of their lineup, trying to get hits and trying to get it back to the top half. An offense that comes in ranked 11th in the National League, 15th in the NL in on-base percentage, and 13th in home runs.
Well, if you're a president or general manager of a club, you have to weigh your words. It's a dicey situation. You can't talk too much about the future, because if you do, you forget the present.
A strike on a swing, and that's out number 1. Strikeout number 4 for John Lester, who's finally retired Jeff Baker. Today is the second to last day to donate the Prostate Cancer Foundation Home Run Challenge. Any home run hit in tonight's game will earn $16,000 for each one. Raised more than $1.6 million for the cause over the last few weeks. For more info, call 1-800-798-CURE. Going online at www.pcf.org. $16,000 tonight in this game with a home run by Saltalamacchia back in the 4th. Here's Mather, strike 1. And Theo did talk about that. He said you have to also understand and appreciate the effort that guys are giving on an everyday basis here.
Yes. With
the present day Cubs, but it's more a long range plan as the count's gone to 0-2 on Mather.
You take a guy like Soriano. If you're Alfonso Soriano, he's 36 years old, and he's not thinking about the future of the Chicago Cubs. He's thinking about the present and what's happening now with the Chicago Cubs. He understands the situation, but it could be said that he perhaps is a little sensitive about the Cubs talking about the future when he won't be a part of it.
Next pitch, a ball down and away, 1-2 on Mather. Soriano, who had a 40-40 season in Washington, signed a big deal here with the Cubs. And the 40-40 thoughts are a long way away for Soriano as Mather strikes out. Shoots a look down at first base umpire Brian Onora. He didn't think he went. That is called a swinging strike 3, 2 out.
Yeah, I think Joe went too far. It's close, but I think first base umpire Brian Onora made the right call.
There's Ryan Dempster, who's been about as good as anybody in the game and was again yesterday. He's gone 22 straight innings with no runs allowed over his last 3 starts. ERA of 2.11, second best in the National League. He's now 3-3 with a win yesterday and actually added in 2 hits, including a triple. And one of the game's real good guys. There are the numbers this season, and if we get a chance in this inning, I know before we finish tonight's game, I want to talk to Ken Rosenthal about Ryan Dempster, and the two spent some time together. Kenny interviewed him, wrote a piece on Dempster, which is well worth the read on FoxSports.com. And Ken Rosenthal, Ryan Dempster's got a great approach, doesn't he?
He does, and his feeling is, listen, whatever is best for the organization. If they want to trade me, fine. I'd like to stay, but hey, he understands the realities at hand. And keep in mind, as you mentioned before, Joe, he has enough service time to veto any deal, so he can pick his spot to some degree.
This one's down the right field line and will drop foul. He also has, Kenny, family considerations and 3 children, and seems very comfortable here with the Cubs, despite the fact all the great pitching. He's only got 3 wins this year.
Right, and that's because he's pitching so well. And what he told me is that the secret for him right now is command. And Joe, it stood out to me in our pregame meeting with Dale Swain when he compared what Dempster is doing right now to Greg Maddux. He said Dempster is able to put the ball wherever he wants it, and that is serious praise.
There's one down and in, ball 1. 94 from Lester, who could strike out the side here in the 5th. 1-2 the count on Wellington Castillo. The next from the Boston left-handers, popped up shallow right. That ball might drop. Pedroia can't get there. And on a hop, Dustin Pedroia gets it back into the infield. A flare base hit by Castillo. And he is on with 2 out in the 5th.
Pedroia, of course, trying after that little looper, but a flare base hit for Castillo. Ken touched on it earlier, but if you're a major leaguer with 10 years service and 5 years with the same club, then you can veto a trade. And Ryan Dempster has the right to use that veto power.
Here's Valbuena. There's Dempster, who went from starter to closer back to starter. Guy who's in his mid-30s. And could be a big addition to really any contender starting rotation. The way he's going right now. Valbuena takes the ball outside. Teams like the Dodgers seem to be in on that chase. Read about the Yankees, although their pitching's been rolling of late and have won 8 in a row now. Here's a 1-0. 2-0. Samardzija, the pitcher's on deck. There is nobody up for the Cubs in their pen, so even if Lester can't get Valbuena, he has a way out of the inning standing in the on-deck circle.
Yeah, you can't develop a pitcher if you're going to take him out trailing by 2 in the middle innings.
When you're 20 games under 500.
Right.
Here's a 2-0. A strike and a good pitch outside corner, 2-1. Two teams that met in the 1918 World Series. Series that almost completely lacked offense. A swing and a miss makes it 2-2.
In that series, it's not on this graphic, but in that series, the Chicago Cubs lost in 6 games to the Red Sox. Babe Ruth won 2 games for the Sox. And the earned run average of Chicago was 1.04. And they lost the series.
19 total runs scoring in that World Series.
Yeah.
More for the Cubs than for the Red Sox. And if you saw that during World War I, it was the first time that the Star-Spangled Banner was played before a ball game. So that tradition started in 1918, and the Cubs, because of aspirations for a larger gate, played their home games at Comiskey instead of Wrigley, where they started playing in 1916. A swing and a miss. Valbuena's gone. Lester strikes out the side, and young and old are here at the ballpark. Wrigley Field, 2-0 Red Sox after 5. By the 2012 Ford F-150, built Ford tough. And by MasterCard. Shop and pay your bills online with MasterCard prepaid cards.
I think the Chicago River is the prettiest interior river of any city in the country.
That's great.
They have an architectural tour on the river. I've been on it a couple of times. It is sensational. Architecture of Chicago, unlike any other city in the country.
And getting a chance to walk back at night with the lights reflecting off the water. It is beautiful. Here's Pedroia for the Red Sox, who lead 2-0. Pedroia, Ortiz, Saltalamacchia. If anybody gets on, Middlebrooks for the Red Sox, who on the strength of that Saltalamacchia home run has got a double and a homer in this game, lead 2-0. On the outside corner from Samardzija as action starts for the Cubs out in their pen. This will be pitch number 98 to the shortstop. Castro shows off the arm, 1 out. And Pedroia is 0 for 3. This July on the 10th. Do not miss the biggest event of the summer as baseball's greatest stars battle for home field advantage in the Fall Classic. The road to the World Series begins with a 2012 All-Star Game Tuesday, July 10th, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. We'll go through some of the leading vote getters to this point as we go through this game. And now we can talk about who might make the start for the National League. Strasburg, Kane, who threw a perfect game during the week. Here's one down the left field line into the corner. It's foul. Off the bat of David Ortiz, strike 1. You saw R.A. Dickey, whose season is just incredible, and Lance Lynn, a right-hander who filled in for the injured Chris Carpenter of the Cardinals and has come out of nowhere to a 10-2 record with an ERA under 2.5.
Matt Cain with a perfect game thrown on Wednesday, the 5th no-hitter of the year thrown by major league pitchers. 14 strikeouts, ties Sandy Koufax as the most strikeouts for any perfect game ever pitched.
And it's the first in Giants history. Meanwhile, R.A. Dickey had a 32 2/3 scoreless inning streak snapped as an unearned run scored in his last start. Randy Wells, the right-hander, is getting loose. And Strasburg just keeps on rolling for the Nationals, who are in front in the NL East. Here's a 1-1. Straightens up Ortiz, ball 2. David has walked, doubled, scored 1 run, been thrown out at the plate. He scored when Saltalamacchia rode 1 out of here to right center. I guess more right than right center. Here comes a 2-1 from Samardzija. Three and 1.
Those are tired breaking balls by Samardzija. Whenever they're up and away to left-handed batters, there's no bite to them. And Chris Bosio knows that. That's why Randy Wells is warming.
3-1 pitch is way high, and a 1-out walk is issued to Ortiz, and we'll see if Samardzija gets another batter. How about the pitching this year in 2012 around baseball? 5 no-hitters by June 13. The most since 1917. 2 perfect games with Umber earlier in the year and then Matt Cain, and the overall batting average around baseball the lowest in 72. And Jason Hamill, we understand, has a no-hitter through 6 for Baltimore at Atlanta. So if it continues and progresses, we will certainly take you there and cover that. 1 on, 1 out. Saltalamacchia has figured out Samardzija so far, ball 1.
0 for 17 coming into this game.
Tried to hold up. Did he? He did. In the count 2-0, and everything's been up.
Joe, we talked about Sandy Koufax with 14 strikeouts in his perfect game against the Cubs in Los Angeles, September 9th, 1965. His opponent was Bob Henley, and between the two of them, they allowed 2 base runners in the game, the fewest ever in a major league game. Dodgers won it 1-0. Lou Johnson had the only hit of the game, a double off Bob Henley.
Ball 3 is upstairs. And there's the comparison, the pitch count and the strikeouts. I know Koufax was worried about the pitch count.
Yeah, right. I'm surprised they had the pitch count from that year.
Here is a 3-0 from Samardzija. It's a strike. Still throwing hard, 95 miles per hour, with Middlebrooks on deck and Randy Wells in the bullpen for the Cubs.
He's fallen behind first Ortiz and now Saltalamacchia with high fastballs. That's a sign of weariness.
Now a 3-1 is high again. A walk, back-to-back walks, and that could be it. Let's go quickly for a game break. Here's Matt Vasgersian.
Joe and Tim, Orioles and Braves. Hey, Baltimore right-hander Jason Hamill took a no-hit bid into the 8th. In his first start as an Oriole in early April, he's through 6 without a hit tonight in Atlanta. We'll stay on top of it. Joe and Tim, back to you guys.
All right, thanks. And here we're going to have a double switch. David DeJesus will come into the game, as will Randy Wells. That's the end of the night for Jeff Samardzija. Two on with one out for Middlebrooks, facing Randy Wells out of the bullpen, and the first pitch is smothered by Castillo for ball 1. Reed Johnson moves from right to center. Jesus comes into the game in right. He will lead it off. They'll bat in the number 9 spot. Randy Wells will represent the pitcher's spot in the number 6 hole where Joe Mather was. Here's one right up the middle, a base hit off the bat of Middlebrooks. David Ortiz running hard, will come around to score. The throw not cut off, but Saltalamacchia tagged out for out number 2 of the inning. It's 3-0 Red Sox here in the 6th. Ortiz scores on the hit by Middlebrooks, now 1 for 3 on the night, and that's his 23rd Major League RBI.
Again, bad base running by the Red Sox. This time not Ortiz, who scores rather easily without a play. The throw to third base, and Saltalamacchia is caught in between and is tagged out by Valpueno. I mean, this is a bad play. First we saw Ortiz in the first inning, and now Saltalamacchia stopping at second, going neither forward nor backward, and is tagged out.
And still running the bases with the RBI hit is Middlebrooks at first, 2 out. The batter is Gonzalez. Adrian 0 for 2.
I think Salty was saying when he looked up, third base coach Jerry Royster was holding him, and then he decided to go. Watch him stop right there. And Jerry's saying hold, and He's had a great game. You can excuse one blunder.
Here is a 2-0. Up high from Wells to Gonzalez, 3-0. Adrian's fly to center struck out. That was, by the way, John Lackey. Salt Tlamaki was seated next to in the dugout. Trying to make his way back from Tommy John surgery. 3-0 pitch is outside, and that'll put 2 on with 2 out. And it's the third walk handed to the Red Sox in the inning. There's Lackey, and he seems to be on the list. When the quote was made by Theo Epstein during the week leading into this series about how his time with the Boston organization ended. As the batter is Sweeney, and he takes a strike from Wells. Theo said, had we been completely true to our baseball philosophy that we set out and believed in and followed, we probably wouldn't have made certain moves that we made. Moves that, as I look back on them, were moves too much of convenience, of placating elements that shouldn't have been important. Those were my mistakes. Here's a broken back ground ball. Castro makes the play, and the inning is over. Lackey's working his way back, hopefully for the Red Sox. Wells gets out of the top of the sixth. 3-0 Boston.
Astros and Rangers. Lucas Harrell had been throwing the ball well until he ran into Nelson Cruz. His 9th of the year puts Texas on top in the 6th. How about the Reds and Mets? Cincinnati starting the day winners of 4 straight on top in the NL Central, and they're doing nothing to hurt their standing tonight. Ryan Ludwig's 4th inning single making it 4-1 Reds. Back to Joe and Tim at the friendly confines.
All right, Matt, so Ryan Ludwig, who was kind of an add-on for Walt Jocketty, who knew him in his time with St. Louis, has been a big bat for the Cincinnati Reds, who are hot and leading the NL Central. Trying to beat the Mets the first 2 games of that series. Saw that home run by Nelson Cruz in the throwback game with the Astros' old uniforms. I see those. I think of Nolan Ryan, Dickie Thon, Bob Nepper.
Mike Scott. Billy Hatcher. Bill Doran.
That's who I was trying to think of. Second baseman. First pitch of ball, now a strike. Kevin Bass.
Kevin took my shoes once. Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
I'll tell you briefly what happened.
1 ball, 1 strike on the Jesus leading it off. His first at bat of the night. Breaking ball misses, ball 2.
Kevin Bass did a drop-dead Sammy Davis Jr. imitation. I asked him for an interview. He said, I'll go on for $250. I said, Kevin, they don't offer you any money. He said, I like those shoes you have on. Why don't you give me those? I gave him my shoes. I thought he was kidding. I have never seen those shoes to this day.
2 balls, 2 strikes on DeJesus. Are you kidding?
That is an absolute true story. So if Kevin Bass is listening, this happened 26 years ago during the 1986 playoffs, Mets and Astros. And Kevin Bass, if you're listening, send me my shoes back. They were good enough to last this long.
Here's a 2-2 pitch down and away. I know how long Tim keeps shoes, so that was a big loss. Kevin, if you're out there, relieve him of his angst. 3 balls, 2 strikes on DeJesus for the Cubs, batting down 3-0 after that RBI by Middlebrooks. Lester with a count full gets a strikeout, his 7th of the night. And he has been in charge tonight. He's allowed 3 hits, 3 singles. That's it.
Tied a career high with 9 strikeouts on Monday night. I'll make that Tuesday night against Miami. And he has 7 tonight. Good high fastball to get DeJesus.
With 1 out, nobody on, here comes Reed Johnson, who has a hit and a strikeout. It's over, but low ball 1. I can hear Kevin Bass saying, well, you offered him.
Yeah, but I thought he was kidding.
Well, would you wear the rest of the night?
Oh, no. I gave him the shoes the next day. I did the interview the next day, and I wore different shoes, and I brought him the shoes and gave it to him before the interview.
That would have told me you don't want the shoes. They're all yours.
I love those shoes.
Here's a ground ball right side. Pedroia to his right with a backhand, 2 out. Where are we next week? We're in New York. Subway Series round 2, and this time at Citi Field, home of the Mets. But there's some of the other action: the Brewers, the White Sox, Dodgers, and Angels. There's Subway Series, and then you got the Giants and the A's. Battle in the Bay, Braves and Red Sox. Yankees won their 8th straight.
How about their bullpen? Their bullpen has been lights out this year. And they lose 2 key elements in David Robertson and Mariano Rivera.
Rafael Soriano has become the closer. He got the last 3 outs today in the 14th inning. Freddie Garcia gave the Yankees 2 shutout innings in that game. And they are close to getting David Robertson back. He'll be setting up Soriano instead of the other way around. 0-2 on Barney with 2 out, nobody on. You can see the wind whipping around as it's blowing those trees out beyond the bleachers and left, and the flags are starched.
That's a good term. Starched.
Here is an 0-2. That's high, ball 1. The Cubs have hit 2 baseballs out of the infield tonight against Lester. That's it. Reed Johnson single and Castillo single. That's all.
Excuse me, Joe. It's almost as though the wind's blowing in instead of the opposite.
Left side, Middlebrooks, tough play, gathers, throws, base hit. Barney is on with a 2-out infield single, and Middlebrooks did all he could.
Good backhand and making the low throw. Trying to one-hop it to David Ortiz, but Darwin Barney smelling that hit. Forget it.
So another one that doesn't leave the infield, but it is a base hit. The inning continues for Starlin Castro, who was lined out, reached on an error, and been caught stealing. But yeah, you touched on it before, and that's kind of where I was going as well when I said 50 strikeouts, 6 walks for Castro, and that's not what the new regime here with the Cubs wants from their hitters. They want patience. Brought in a new hitting instructor as the on-base percentage has been going down every year over the last 5 years for the Cubs. It's one of the reasons why the Yankees and Red Sox games last as long as they do. They're 2 teams that are as selective and make starting pitchers work. Probably the 2 most selective teams in baseball.
Yes.
Left side, Middlebrooks kicks it. Goes right through him, and now the Cubs have 2 on, 2 out. hard hit. Middlebrooks couldn't keep it on the infield, and it's a base hit for Starlin Castro.
Yeah, normally you don't get base hits when it's a good hop. I think the ball hit Middlebrooks on the wrist. Another look. Nope, on the thumb area. Never got the middle of the web on the ball. So base hit for Starlin Castro.
And now it sets up Soriano, who, as I mentioned, didn't homer in the first 30 games of the season, was hitting .250. 17 RBIs. But since then, he's over 300 with 12 home runs as the right-hander Sean Camp, who for a while was the closer here with the Cubs, gets loose in the bullpen. Got Baker on deck, then the pitcher's spot. 2 on, 2 out. Up to Soriano. Ball 1 outside. There's that production coming into tonight's game. First 30, and now basically the next 30 for Soriano. Here's a 1-0. Hard to hit, but right at Middlebrooks. Juggles it. Soriano didn't run, and he is out, and the crowd lets him hear it.
Boy, you've got to let the umpire call you out and not call yourself out. You didn't run. That looks bad.
2 hits in the inning, 4 left on the night. Back to Chicago after this from your local Fox station. In a game that's featured pretty good pitching and some bad base running, we go to the 7th inning. 3-0 Red Sox. Mike Aviles, the shortstop, is first up. He is 0 for 2. John Lester, the pitcher, on deck. Then Punsednik against Randy Wells, the right-hander, who relieved last inning. That's a strike, and it's 0-2. And Soriano was really hearing it from the fans after not running out that line drive that was eventually dropped by Middlebrooks. Soriano went out to warm up before the start of this 7th. Counts 0-2, and Aviles takes a ball.
Yeah, the ball wasn't hit that hard, but that's not the point. Run everything out until the umpire calls you out.
Here's a 1-2. Down and away. Wells, former starter, now finds himself in the bullpen. Samardzija went 5 1/3, allowed 3 runs on 4 hits, struck out 6, 1.5 in a row, 6 on the night, walked 3. Left side foul. Here's the final out of the bottom of the 6th.
Ball kind of handcuffs Middlebrooks. Heel of the glove, and it bounces around until it hits the ground. And had he been running hard out of the box, maybe he beats it. Ball was hit hard, in fairness. But again, that's not the point.
Count still 2-2 on Mike Aviles. Everyday shortstop for the Red Sox waits, and here's a 2-2. Just sticks the bat out and dumps it into right. That ball will go down the line, played by DeJesus and back into the infield. A double for Mike Aviles to start this 7th.
Not only did he stick the bat out, but he stuck something else out too. His rear end. Little flare the other way.
So a double starts the inning in a 3-0 game, and Lester now tries to decipher the signs put out there by Jerry Royster.
Yeah, he's bunting. One sacrifice this year.
Look at the defense on the infield, trying to bunt Aviles over to third. Strike 1 outside corner.
What you try to do in this situation, of course Lester's not an experienced bunter, you try to bunt it toward third and make Valbuena field the ball.
That's strike 2. So an 0-2 count. Aviles back to second base, and Lester trying to. And now you can see Bobby Valentine almost saying, go talk to Lester and tell him what to do.
Well, tell him if you're not bunting, go ahead and swing away. You've got the infield in a state of flux.
They abandon the bunt. It's a ball down and in. 1-2. And now Jerry Royster is going to say, come here and let's talk. We have a failure to communicate with hand signs. So we'll give you the Just for Men Auto Stop foolproof stat. Red Sox 3 and 4 hitters have been on base in all 6 plate appearances tonight. Just as the Red Sox can count on Ortiz, and Saltalamacchia has had a big night, you can count on Just for Men Auto Stop for foolproof results. Bottom of the order trying to chip in on the fun right here. The count 1-2 on Lester. Check swing on ball 2, down and away. We'll get an update on the Jason Hamill no-hit bid for the Orioles in Atlanta in a moment. Here comes a 2-2 pitch. That moment is now. A strikeout for out number 1. We go to Matt Vasgersian at the MLB Network studios for the game break.
Well, Joe, we are officially off of the Jason Hamill no-hitter watch. The Braves waited until there were 2 out in the bottom of the 7th before their first base hit of the game. Thanks to Jason Hayward, it's 5-0 Orioles in the 7th. Back to you guys at Wrigley.
All right, Matt, thank you. And with a runner at second, 1 out. It was a combined no-hitter for the Orioles the last time. Palmer has the last singular no-hitter. What would that say? Back in 1969, Jim Palmer.
Gentleman Jim, who never gave up a Grand Slam home run. Ever. 1 in the minor leagues. Guess who hit it? Johnny Bench.
Man. It's like you were prepared for Hamill to test the no-hitter.
Palmer's told me all of those things.
Here comes a 1-0. Podsednik dumps one into center field. Aviles will turn and go. The throw by Reed Johnson it hits the runner, trickles away, and Podsednik down to second in a 4-0 game. Podsednik stays hot. He has an RBI hit, his 7th RBI, and Aviles, who led off with a double, is in to score.
Sometimes when a runner doesn't slide into home plate, that causes the ball to hit him and bounce even farther away from home plate. This ball hits Aviles, bounces toward the Red Sox dugout, and Podsednik easily goes into second base. Second hit of the game for Scott Podsednik.
They do give an error to Reed Johnson, his first of the year. It's an RBI for Podsednik, took second on the error, and now with Pedroia at the plate, ball one outside from Wells. Red Sox lead 4-0 now. They lost here yesterday afternoon 3-0. They lost 7 of 8, won 2 of 3 at Miami, and trying to split the first 2 games here at Wrigley, with Franklin Morales getting the start for the injured Josh Beckett against Paul Maholm tomorrow night, who's 4-5 with the Cubs. Here comes a 1-0 inside, 2-0, and Wells has had a tough time getting ahead of hitters. There's Beckett, who didn't answer questions after the game yesterday, said he had family in town, so he got out. He is officially on the DL. Here is a 2-0 in the dirt. Castillo keeps it close enough. 3-0. There's yet another runner, in this case Podsednik, out at second base with that sliding thing on their hand that's become kind of the rage in baseball here in 2012.
Well, especially for guys who can run. Other than that, nobody wears them. But Podsednik slides head first into a lot of bases and apparently needs them.
This is the first year I've noticed that thing.
Yeah, me too.
There are many guys that lead off type hitters who have them around baseball.
Yeah. Looks like he's missing a couple of fingers on his left hand. That's not the case.
Here comes a 3-1 pitch with a runner at second, 1 out. Chopper to short. Off the bat of Pedroia, running hard. He is out by a step. Over to third goes Podsednik, 2 out. And Pedroia is 0 for 4 tonight with 4 groundouts, and his frustration continues. Ortiz, on the other hand, as we told you earlier in the inning, has been on base 3 times, combined with Saltalamacchia. The 3-4 combo 6 times in tonight's game. For Ortiz, a double, 2 walks, 2 runs scored. Runner at third, 2 out, and a shift on the infield. With a lot of room at the shortstop position. Ball 1. Only Valbuena left on the left side of the infield for Chicago. Cubs in the bottom of the 7th will have Baker, the pitcher's spot, and Castillo against Lester. Got under it, flies it into center, and dealing with the wind and now having to back up a few is Reed Johnson to end the inning. What a run on a leadoff double by Aviles. And an RBI hit by Podsednik. Little defense in this game and good pitching by Lester. As it's 7th inning stretch time in Wrigley with the Red Sox up 4-0. game presented by Budweiser is sponsored by Prudential. Prudential, bring your challenges. And by the all-new Mazda CX-5 with 35 highway MPG. From out on Lake Michigan to inside Wrigley Field, and John Lester has a 5-hit shutout going. As he pitches in the bottom of the 7th, up 4-0. Baker, big swing, strike one. Jeff's 1 for 2. Campana on deck, and then Castillo. Manny Corpus, the right-hander, is getting loose. That's strike 2. There's Campana, who may be the fastest guy in the big leagues. He can run. The 0-2 pitch. Ball one upstairs from Lester, who checks into this game 3 and 4 with an ERA of 4.57. He's been in charge from the beginning tonight. Here's a 1-2. Little flare into right. That ball might drop, and it is down for a hit. Baker will push it to 2. And by the time Gonzalez gets it back in, it's a leadoff double for Jeff Baker, who's 2 for 3 tonight.
I thought we were going to see a game where there were only bad decisions made on the bases. But Jeff Baker turned just a little flare into pulling it off and going to second base. Running hard. He even had Gonzalez come up with it. He was going to try for second, and now obviously what you said, Joe, about the fastest guy in the big leagues, he'll be up there to bunt for a base hit, probably.
That's Campana. He'll dig his way in against the lefty Lester. It's an entirely left-handed bench for Dale Swaim, the Cubs manager, so it's just who do you want? And in this case, he wants the guy who wears number 1 and can really run. He puts pressure on a defense. Shows bunt, takes a strike. Campana wasn't called up until the 3rd week of April. And yet this is a guy that in the stolen base department has stolen 23 already, been caught just 3 times.
That leads the major leagues. He has run himself to the big leagues.
Here's the 0-1. Outside from Lester, and they're stirring down in the Red Sox bullpen, but not throwing yet. That's Aceves, the closer, the nearest guy to you, and Vicente Padilla practicing with a towel.
Throwing the towel.
Here comes the 1-1. Runner at second, nobody out. Doesn't count if you don't let it go. Campana fouls it, trying to bunt, strike 2. On deck is the young catcher Castillo. Here comes a 1-2 pitch. 2-2.
Yeah, you defend a hitter like Campana if you're an outfielder by daring him to hit the ball over your head. Only reason the Red Sox outfielders are that deep is the wind's blowing out.
Now a 2-2 pitch. After a long look, Lester fouled out of play left side. So Campana just slapping at it. Either trying to work a walk or find a rare John Lester mistake, who just gave up a bloop double down the right field line. Still under 90 pitches on the night is Lester. Bobby Valentine still does not have anybody getting loose in his bullpen down the right field line. Here's a 2-2 again. Ground ball right side. Runner goes to third. Pedroia makes the play, 1 out. So Campana advances the runner, does not get a base hit, down 4-0, looking for more than that. Here's tonight's better moment We focus on the performance of John Lester, who has struck out 7. He has allowed no runs so far on 6 hits. Tonight's Better Moment brought to you by Mazda. Better, stronger, smarter. And Lester's been that tonight. Now Castillo. And the young catcher, strike 1. Wellington has lined out to short. He's singled. And he gets that stick that they use in the on-deck circle out of pine tar rag to try to get a better grip on the bat.
Used to be in baseball that hitters would use the knob to stop their left hand for a right hander, right hand for a left-hander.
Strike 2.
But more and more hitters are going below the knob. In other words, the left pinky of Castillo is actually off the knob, grips the knob, and you see that more and more. I really don't quite understand it, because that knob is supposed to stop the left hand from going any farther.
Here's the 0-2. Just missed, and Lester wanted that, didn't get it. On top of that, with a knob right in the middle of your palm.
It's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't think it'd be very comfortable when you make contact. 1-2 the count. Runner at third, 1 out in a 4-0 game. Blocked by Saltalamacchia, picked up clean on a pitch down and in, 2-2. Cubs will be on the south side next on Monday. They take on the White Sox. The Chicago White Sox started the day in first place in the AL Central. Right side, down the line, foul. Flare off the end of the bat keeps it 2-2.
Cleveland entered the action today. A half game back, they lost to Pittsburgh. So Cleveland enters tonight's action. The White Sox playing in Los Angeles a little later. Young Chris Sale blowing a lead last night. Chris Sale, a real chance for the Southsiders to be on the All-Star team. 8-2.
He was matched up last night against Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah.
A lot of runs. Dodgers won it. Fouled back to the screen. Still 2-2. How about A.J. Burnett?
How about that?
First Pirate to win 6 straight starts since 1990. Former Yankee. Here's another foul by Castillo, trying to battle his way on. The Cubs trying to get something going here. Down 4-0 against Lester. Another 2-2 pitch. Breaking ball goes around the strike zone, a full count. On deck is Valbuena. And then DeJesus in the number 9 spot. Some more lefties for Lester. This is a Cubs team that started the day 3-13 against left-handed starters. They are a heavy left-handed hitting team. The 3-2 from Lester is down and in. A good at bat by the young Wellington Castillo, and that's the first walk of the night. That brings Bobby Valentine out of the dugout to talk to Lester with first and third, 1 out.
I think Bobby out there to just tell him to throw strikes, because no one's warming up in the bullpen. It's Lester's inning to finish so far. And now you see more activity.
Atchison and Miller.
Yeah.
Atchison's been so good. And Miller is the only left-hander down there. Andrew Miller is the lone left-hander, with Franklin Morales preparing for his start tomorrow night. It's Valbuena who's grounded out, struck out. 3 straight no decisions for Lester, who over those 3 starts has an ERA over 4, and he's battling here in the 7th. Lead runner is Baker. He led off with a double. Campana grounded out. A walk to Castillo. Lester ready with his first. Not close. Ball 1. Jesus is 0 for 1 since entering in the 6th. Led off last inning and struck out. He's on deck. Infielders looking for a double play ball. Instead, Valbuena hits it deep at the wall. This is a 1-run game. 3-run shot for Luis Valbuena.
You know what that pitch was, Joe? We used to refer to these as an after the walk fastball. 1 ball, no strike to count. You know you're going to get a fastball to hit. He got it and delivered.
And that ball, with the wind blowing out, went deep into the bleachers in left center field. First with the Cubs. And Valbuena, with 1 swing, has made this a 1-run game. Strike hits the outside corner to David DeJesus, who's 0 for 1. Fourteenth career home run for Valbuena. On the inside corner, strike 2. How about the reaction by Lester? Not much. Give me a ball. Let's go again. Now the 0-2 pitch. Over but low, ball 1. Everybody working over gum. And the 1-2 pitch. Just low. 2-2. Nobody on, 1 out. 1-run game here in the 7th inning, and DeJesus fouls it left side. Cubs bullpen is going to get active again with Corpus, the right-hander. Atchison and Miller still getting loose down the right field line. That for the Cubs is just their 50th home run of the season. They came in with the 13th highest total in the National League. DeJesus waits for now a 2-2 pitch. A full count.
We saw Jeff Samardzija get wild, and he was taken out of the game after a couple of walks. 1 walk by Lester already in this inning. 3-2 to DeJesus.
And the Cubs have made him work. More pitches this inning than any other. That's strike 3 right down the middle. And 2 out in the inning. Strikeout number 8 for Lester, and that's going to be it for the left-handed starter. With Reed Johnson coming up, Scott Atchison, the right-hander, is coming out of the pen. Valentine makes the move. In comes Atchison. 4-3 Boston with 2 out in the bottom of the 7th. First pitch is a strike from the right-hander Scott Atchison. Is with 2 out, nobody on. Reed Johnson bats. He was 1 for 3 against Leicester. Atchison's been great, and he fires a pitch. Johnson comes up empty. It's 0-2. Scott leads the American League with the most innings pitched in relief. 18 of his last 19 outings have been scoreless. Come out of nowhere, really, and part of a very good Red Sox bullpen right now. They had a rough April. They've been tremendous since. Here's the 0-2. Out of play right side.
Bobby Valentine has a different view of Scott Atchison as you take a look at John Lester. But Scott Atchison was pitching for Hanshin in Japan. And Bobby Valentine was managing Chiba Latte in 2009. So Bobby Valentine saw Atchison work in Japan. Rather unusual set of circumstances.
Breaking ball misses low for ball 1. Lester's been prowling in that dugout ever since coming out, glaring down in that far end.
I think we were talking about it during the break, Joe. It's like an odd reaction from John Lester.
Trying to, I'm sure, wanting to finish this 7th, not getting the chance after a strikeout of De Jesus. Atchison almost got out of the inning right there. It stays 1-2 on Johnson. Lester 6 2/3, 3 runs, 7 hits, a walk, 8 strikeouts, and the home run. Aviles into his left. Atchison does his usual work. We are through 7, but it's a different feeling game now. After Valbuena with 2 on, shot one out to left center. It's 4-3 Boston. Into the 8th we go. Manuel Corpus, the right-hander, takes over. Former Colorado Rocky deals inside ball 1, 92 to Saltalamacchia. Samardzija, the starter, went 5 1/3, 3 runs on 4 hits. Wells and now Corpus, and a shattered bat, dangerous into the seats, and a fly ball to Soriano. 1 out. And it's tonight's Burger King smooth play of the game. And back in the 3rd inning, the home run by Saltalamacchia off Samardzija. Saltalamacchia's 12th of the season. And one of 3 times he was on base to begin his night. 1 out here in the 8th inning, and the batter is Middlebrooks. Corpus drops down from the hole. It's Castro. What a play. Starlin Castro with a nice play to his right, showed off the good arm. 2 out.
What makes this play that much more difficult, little tricky hop, and he's going to his right, back across his body, strong throw. If he's going toward first, it's not as good a play, but when he has to stop and do all the things he had to do, it was a nice play.
Randy Wells, by the way, the run he gave up last inning in the 7th, the difference in the game now, an inning and 2/3 for Wells, a run on 3 hits, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. With 2 out, nobody on, Corpus deals with Adrian Gonzalez, who is 0 for 2 with a walk, and he takes a ball down and in. Adrian tonight has fly to center, struck out. That was against the starters Samardzija. Vicente Padilla, the right-hander, has been up for a while. First just pantomiming a throw with a towel, and now he is more in the mode like he's going into the ball game, as they're going over the hitters coming up in the bottom of the 8th inning, which will be Barney, Castro, and Soriano.
Talking to the bullpen coach Gary Tuck about that.
Here's a 2-0. Just inside, ball 3. Corpus is coming back from Tommy John surgery. At 19 saves the year the Rockies went to the World Series in 07 to play these Red Sox. That's down into the corner. Foul. While we have a chance, we'll give you a look at some of these numbers. The runs per game for the Red Sox, 3rd best in baseball. Batting average, 4th in baseball. RBIs, 4th in baseball. Extra base hits, their 1st. But they're in last place, and they're the only team in MLB history ranked in the top 4 of these categories and in last place through 64 games.
Yeah, we talked about Boston in the opening, either a penthouse or a warehouse. When a lot of runs are scored, they win. When few runs are scored, they don't. This is the type game that's been unusual for Boston to win all year, a 4-3 game.
Here is a 3-1 from Corpus, the right-hander, and it's outside, a 2-out walk. Second time Gonzalez has walked. And the batter will be Ryan Sweeney. So while you watch Vicente Padilla getting loose down in the bullpen for the Red Sox, my thoughts go to Daniel Bard, who's pitching now out of the bullpen at the AAA level for the Boston Red Sox. We talked to Bobby Valentine about it before the game and said, are you trying to get him ready to come back as a starter, which is the project for 2012, or reinsert him into the area where he could be dominant, as he was last year, out of the bullpen, throwing hard and trying to get some of the velocity back? And he said, well, we don't really know at this point, but we may have a change in our philosophy, giving him more of a set goal to try and achieve at the AAA level as we try to make him king of the hill again.
It would seem to me, Joe, that the sooner they make their mind up, the better it's going to be for Daniel Bard, because right now, and knowing pitchers, he's caught in between.
Little flare on the infield. Who wants it? Castro, inning over. And a scoreless inning put up by Corpus, the right-hander. For the Cubs, the big bats coming up, including Castro and Soriano, down by 1. All night in America, this is turning into a good game here at Wrigley Field. Tonight's game presented by Budweiser. Glad you're with us, glad they're with us. And here is Vicente Padilla taking over in the 8th. And for Padilla, he has really become a weapon out of the bullpen for the Red Sox. He has a 6-game scoreless streak, his longest of the season. And he starts the 8th inning fresh. Gonzalez moves to first base. Nava goes to left off the bench. Podsednik shifts from left to center. And Ryan Sweeney's now in right. This is as good defensively with the moves that were made as the Red Sox can be, trying to protect a 1-run lead, and that means that David Ortiz is out of the ballgame. Darwin Barney at the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike from Padilla. After Barney, it's Castro and Soriano. That's foul and out of play, strike 2.
And you and I both know that Padilla possesses a pitch that the Cubs have never seen.
It's borderline Ephus-like. It's just a lollipop.
Yeah. We were talking to Bobby Valentine about it before the game. He said, look, gives the hitters a different look. Do I like it? Sure. Especially with the job Padilla's done for him.
This bullpen through the end of April had a group ERA of 6.10, worst in the big leagues. Since May 1st, 2.31, best in the big leagues. It's been a great turnaround for that group out there for Bobby Valentine. And the count, you can see the velocity still good for Padilla. 94, misses up and away, 2-2.
And a real credit to both Gary Tuck, the bullpen coach, and Bob McClure, the pitching coach, staying with the guys in the bullpen. Bob McClure not with the team.
Got a family situation. This is his 8th game missed. Here's a 2-2. Fly ball into left field. That ball is out. Caught by Nava. And it's going to be interesting to look at that replay. The third base umpire, Chad Fairchild, called him out. Let's see if this ball didn't bounce into the glove of Nava.
It did. It's a short hop. The guys in the Chicago bullpen were calling that game, or calling that play immediately. I said it was a short hop. I hope I'm not premature in that. It looked like it hit the ground before it came into leather. I was wrong.
I think it's a catch.
It is a catch and a good call by Chad Fairchild.
It hits the ground, but the glove is underneath.
He's got leather between the ball and the ground.
That's a great call by Chad Fairchild, the third base umpire. Dale Swaim has got that ground level view from the dugout. The bullpen guys reacted. That ball bounced into the glove, but the glove was on top of the grass, between the ball and the grass. It certainly looks like that was a good call and left.
Absolutely.
So now they're going to get the umpires together and see if somebody else had a better view. The crew chief is Tom Hallion. He's in the background there. He is the second base umpire tonight.
And he was the only umpire that would have had a better view than third base umpire Chad Fairchild. They made the right call, though.
Let's take another look at it in regular speed and see how difficult this call is. Nava made a great play. And the umpires are going to stay with out number one of the inning.
How about that? Bobby Valentine making a defensive move in the bottom of the eighth inning, and it proves fortuitous for the Red Sox. Putting Podsednik into left field, or I beg your pardon, Nava into left field, Podsednik into center. And Daniel made a very, very good play for the first out in this inning.
So now Starlin Castro. By the way, Bobby Valentine did not use a double switch, so he still has the pitcher batting in the number 9 spot. That means that Nava will bat in the spot vacated by David Ortiz. Here's Castro, and there's a strike over the inside corner from Padilla. Castro has hit 5 home runs. Tonight he's lined out, reached on an error, been out stealing and singled. Andrew Miller, the tall left-hander, is still getting loose for the Red Sox in their bullpen. All this in an effort to set up Alfredo Aceves. If he gets his chance, he'll look for his 16th save of the season as the count goes to 0-2. And a nice shot of that catch. The photographer able to upload those pictures right to his laptop. A strikeout on a high delivery by Padilla. Castro is gone. 2 out here in the 8th. Tonight's game presented by Budweiser is sponsored by Michelin, a better way forward, and by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. The crowd booing Alfonso Soriano as he makes his way to the plate because of that ground out, or line out turned into a ground out. On a ball hit to third. Back in the 6th with 2 on. At the time, the Cubs were down 3-0. Strike 1 from Padilla. He hit a line drive to third. It was juggled, dropped, fumbled, picked up, and thrown to first by Middlebrooks at third while Soriano didn't run. And the crowd let him have it. And they booed him on his way to the plate here in the 8th. The 0-1, strike 2. And here's that play back in the 6th. And then he became the easy out. The fans in left really let him hear it when he came back out to his spot.
Alfonso hoping for atonement by tying this game up. With his power, he can do it.
He's got 12 home runs, and he takes high, ball 1. He's been on a home run tear. Padilla so far an uneventful 8th. Valentine, who trusts that bullpen, watches on a 1-2 count. A strikeout ends the inning. And more good work from Vicente Padilla, who now has made 7 straight scoreless appearances. Let's go to the 9th here at Wrigley. 4-3 Boston. To the 9th inning, 9 o'clock straight up here in Chicago. Give you an update and a little recap after something happens here to start the 9th inning, and it's a base hit off the bat of Mike Aviles. And he is 2 for his last 2, 2 for 4 on the night, and Nick Punto will come off the bench to bat for Padilla. There's the score. Valbuena with a 3-run shot for Chicago in the 7th, made it 4-3. Lester got 2 outs into the 7th inning, gave way to the bullpen, and Salt Tulamacchia with a 2-run home run in the 4th inning. Been on base 3 times tonight, and here is Punto. The Cubs are looking for the bunt. Red Sox have a bench now of Darnell McDonald, Kelly Shopping, the backup catcher, and Kevin Youkilis. And Alfredo Aceves, the closer for the Red Sox, gets loose. Punto, a vital part-time starter, bench player for the Cardinals last year. He got a ring. No sign of a bunt. He takes a strike.
You know why I think there's no sign of a bunt, Joe? It's because Podsednik is the on-deck batter. Scott does not have a lot of power to drive the ball to the outfield. The outfield would be playing shallow. I think that's why he did it on the first pitch, thinking he'd get a good pitch to hit. The ball was inside. We'll see.
See if they stick with a swing or let him bunt. A check on the runner at first. As a right-hander gets loose, Sean Camp was up earlier, and he is cranking it up again. While Aceves, the closer for the Red Sox, gets loose and right. Corpus benched to scoreless 8th, did walk a man. Here's a 1-0. Now the bunt. The bunt's fouls for strike 2. 0-2. Aviles will have to go back to first. And we'll see what Bobby Valentine does here. Probably back to the swing. It's Jerry Royster, the third base coach. Punto hitting just .209. Valbuena backs up a bit over at third. A check on Aviles. Cubs trying to get up off the deck and take the first two games of this three-game set here at Wrigley. The Red Sox losing yesterday 3-0, led tonight 4-0 until the bottom of the seventh when Dale Swaim's third baseman Luis Valbuena hit an opposite field 3-run home run off Lester. Charts for Dale Swaim, and now an 0-2 pitch to Punto. Outside, ball one. Punto waits for a 1-2 pitch from Manuel Corpus. He got him. Corpus gets him on a strikeout as he pulled the string, and Punto does not advance the runner 1-on, 1-out.
That's the first time Corpus has thrown that changeup. Well, that was a beauty. Coming back from Tommy John surgery. Punto way out in front. Talked about it earlier. Jeff Baker playing for the Rockies in 2007. So did Corpus, playing against the Red Sox in the World Series.
You can help keep Dad in the game. Join Major League Baseball in supporting the Prostate Cancer Foundation with a Home Run Challenge. Visit MLBcommunity.org or HomeRunChallenge.org to learn more. The batter is Podsednik. He's 2 for 4. His RBI is the difference in the game. It came in the seventh. There goes Aviles. The throw down by Castillo in time. Got it. 2 out.
What a rocket. You know, we talked about Castillo earlier, about his footwork behind home plate. And Dale Swaim saying he's going to be a regular catcher one of these days. That's a tough play. A short hop, backhanded, and he throws a strike to second base. Boy, that's impressive. That's hard to do.
And you can see why. Swaim likes what he sees defensively out of Castillo, and then he finished the comments by saying, and he'll hit too. And he did that in the minor leagues this year, so he's getting his chance. Soto was not hitting when he went down. He had arthroscopic surgery on his knee. He will be back at the beginning of the week when the Cubs are on the south side. 2-0 the count on Podsednik with Pedroia on deck. Still a one-run game. Out of play, 2-1. The Cubs in the bottom of this ninth inning will have Baker, then the pitcher's spot, and then Castillo. Anybody gets on Valbuena, who has the only RBIs of the night for the Cubs with that 3-run shot 2 innings ago. Two and one on Podsednik, looking for a 3-hit night. Out in front of that pitch, 2-2. There's rain in the area, and it's headed our way. Red Sox have lost 3 on the bases tonight in what is now a 1-run game. Ortiz in the first inning, Saltalamacchia between second and third in the sixth, and now Aviles trying to steal here in the ninth. Here comes a 2-2 pitch. And that drills Podsednik to keep the top of the ninth inning going.
That fastball from Corpus hit Scott in the right pocket, right below it.
Here comes Pedroia, who's 0 for 4 tonight with 4 groundouts. Nothing really hard hit tonight so far for Dustin, as he tries to figure out Corpus, the right-hander. 2 out in the inning, and Podsednik, this would be a time to run. He draws a throw. Scott is 6 of 7 trying to steal bases since he was added to this roster. He brings a different element to this Boston team, something they lack when they don't have Jacoby Ellsbury around or Carl Crawford. Corpus drops down and misses down and away, ball 1.
Better pitch on which to run here because the chance of a pitch out remote. Plus, you got a guy who can handle the bats, not afraid to hit with 2 strikes in Pedroia. He can afford to take a pitch if he sees Podsednik running.
Remember, on deck is Nava, not David Ortiz. He was lifted for defense. Dropped down, and Pedroia swung at a chin-high pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's Nava. Here's a 1-1. Way outside from Corpus, ball 2.
Just watching Castillo move behind the plate, he reminds me of Benito Santiago when he first came in to the league back in 1986 with San Diego. Similar movements with that long, wiry body, but boy, with that throw to second base, I think that deterred Bobby Valentine for sending Podsednik.
Yeah, I was going to say, it got the attention of Podsednik, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Valentine, who was watching Aviles cut down for the second out of the inning. 2-1 the count on Pedroia. Popped up. Right side will stay in play, and it's Darwin Barney who wants it, has it, sets us up for the bottom of the 9th inning. Aceves will take over. Baker, a pinch hitter, Castillo coming up. Cubs down by 1. Red hot Boston Red Sox bullpen. 13 of 14 in the save department. Good ERA, low opponent's average. Only 2 home runs allowed since the 23rd of April. So like the rest of the group down there for the Red Sox, he got off to a slow start. But he has been on a roll, and here he is trying to save it for John Lester.
Yeah, that last number was what the Cubs are looking at going into the 9th inning, hoping perhaps to get a ball up in the wind and take advantage of that wind blowing out and tie the game.
Clevenger will lead it off. Then it's LaHair who's in the on-deck circle. Clevenger batting for Baker. Then LaHair, then Castillo. Cardenas is the only one left on the bench for Dale Swain. Clevenger had a bases loaded 2-run hit in yesterday's first inning. The Cubs, if they've done one thing, they've scored 9th inning runs, the most in baseball with 42. Clevenger tried to get it going. One of the 2 catchers, soon to be maybe 3 catchers on the active roster for the Cubs, with Soto coming back, strike 1.
No, that was hittable. He wants that one back. Clevenger, a good swing on a bad pitch. Behind in the count.
We saw Valbuena get one up into the jet stream out to left center in the 7th on a similar pitch. And it is blowing out. Here comes the 0-1 from Aceves. Had Clevenger out in front. Now it's 0-2. Clayton Mortensen, a right-hander who was just activated, is getting some work in down in the bullpen. He was recalled when Beckett went on the DL today. Here's a fly ball into center, a base hit. And on an 0-2 count, Clevenger is on to start this 9th inning for Chicago.
Aceves tried to come inside bad. I know it was hit hard, but that is not a bad 0-2 pitch. He crowded him around the letters. Sometimes you just have to tip your cap to the hitter, and that was the case with Clevenger then.
And here's a kid who grew up a Red Sox fan, Brian LaHair.
First major league hit against the Red Sox.
And he's had a flair for the dramatic. He had a great series here against the Cubs' rival, the Cardinals, earlier in the season. And you can see his favorite player, Nomar Garciaparra. Ken Rosenthal, you have more on Brian LaHair.
Well, he definitely has some New England roots. He played for J.P. Ricciardi, the former Blue Jays GM, as a basketball player at Holy Name High School in Worcester, Mass. And also, you mentioned Nomar. Well, Michael Garciaparra, his younger brother, Nomar's younger brother, was in LaHair's wedding. They were teammates of the Seattle Mariners organization.
He's got a ton of power, and it wouldn't take much from him to get one out of here with this wind blowing out and be a hero for the Cubs tonight.
12 home runs on the year.
He was with Seattle, as Ken mentioned, in 08. He got to the big leagues. Last year came up a check on the runner. That's Clevenger, who has a tiny lead. Winning run at the plate, tying run at first here in the 9th. Strike 2.
Good changeup again from Aceves.
Well framed by Saltalamacchia. 8 of the 12 home runs hit by LaHair this season have either tied the game or given the Cubs a lead. If he gets one here, he'll give the Cubs a win. Spoils the pitch. 81 miles per hour from Aceves, still 0-2. He's a guy that's really hit well against right-handed pitching, .333. And out to talk is Saltalamacchia. Tying run at first. Winning run at the plate. Nobody out here in the 9th inning. Cubs and Red Sox. Aceves steps off. Late swing and a foul.
That's what happens when you throw 2 straight changeups in a row. When you make a major league hitter look bad, it slows down the bat. That's why the fastball inside's a good pitch after 2 good changeups.
LaHair waits for an 0-2 pitch. A good rip at that pitch. Still 0-2. LaHair knows all the talk about Anthony Rizzo, the young player behind him. At the AAA level, the 22-year-old, and LaHair could creep onto the list of players moved by the Cubs if somebody wants a left-handed batter with some power.
Yeah, if you hit, you'll play somewhere.
Overall hitting .298 with those 12 home runs. There's the tying run, nobody out. Another 0-2. Not close. Changeup floated away.
Yeah, that's the 8th pitch of the inning and the first ball thrown by Aceves.
He can hit a wild streak. He hasn't done that much lately. Sweating through it in the dugout is Bobby Valentine, seeing if the Red Sox can get to within a game of 500. Aceves ready with a 1-2 pitch. 2-2. Those last 2 pitches, even though the previous pitch was so far outside, it's an 80-81 mile-an-hour changeup and a 94 mile-per-hour fastball. On deck is the young catcher and rookie Wellington Castillo. But right now it's LaHair and Aceves. One out and a big strikeout for the Boston right-hander.
Aceves finishing off LaHair with the tailing fastball away. Good pitch after those off-speed pitches. Set him up.
Now Castillo. Wellington has been on base twice. In the time he was retired, he lined out. He lined out, singled, and walked all against Lester, who's the pitcher of record for the Red Sox on the plus side. Breaking ball is in for a strike. Stuff that Aceves brings with him to the mound is the reason why he can be a starter if you need him to be a starter, a setup man, or a closer. Andrew Bailey, the Red Sox traded for from Oakland, hurt at the end of spring training. It's Aceves' job, and that one misses down and away. A ball and a strike. Castillo hit 4 home runs in the minor leagues this season at AA, AAA. He's got 1 in the big leagues. Waits for a 1-1. Might end the ball game. Middlebrooks out at second, out at first, and the Red Sox win it 4-3. A 5-4-3 double play from Middlebrooks to Pedroia and on to first to Adrian Gonzalez. Lester gets his 4th win of the year. Samardzija suffers his 5th loss, and in a 3-hour, 6-minute game, Aceves throws the double play ball, and he gets his 16th save of the season. For Tim and Ken, I'm Joe. So long from Chicago. You've been watching Fox Sports, home of the 2012 All-Star Game, NLCS and World Series. Up next, Matt Vasgersian and Eric Burns at the MLB Network studios. Right after this, turned into a good game, didn't it? At Wrigley Field, Red Sox win it. Good night from Chicago.